Hi, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Mountain Forums. My name is Jacob. I'm one of the content marketing leads here at Mountain, and I'm going to be your moderator for today. In today's forum, how Mountain helped AdParlor win big, we'll be discussing, as the name implies, how the digital first performance agency AdParlor landed the connected TV budget of a Fortune 500 company, how Mountain helped them deliver big results, and some practical tips on how agencies can easily get started with CTV, even if they've never used it before. Now, I'd like to introduce today's speakers. Lauren Cody, Chief Client Officer, and Jared Levy, AVP Operations and Client Strategy at AdParlor. Jared, Lauren, take a moment and tell the folks at home a little bit about yourself, AdParlor, and those wonderful sweaters you're wearing.
Thanks, Jacob. Happy to be here. I'm Jared Levy, AVP of Operations and Client Strategy at AdParlor. I bring a background as a media buyer and 14 years experience in crafting and managing paid media strategies across programmatic SEM, video, and social platforms. I've been fortunate to partner with some of the leading Fortune 500 companies and media agencies over the years. And in terms of my sweater, it is circa 2003 Buddy the Elf. Pass it over to Lauren.
Love it. Nice. All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Lauren Cody. As AdParlor's General Manager and Chief Client Officer, I am ultimately responsible for the success of the company, but also client satisfaction, partnering with executive stakeholders at our clients and our partners. Um, I am based in Kansas City, and at risk of dating myself, I've been in the industry for nearly 20 years. My sweater is vintage Rudolph.
Thanks, y'all. Now, before we begin, I just wanted to remind everyone that we will have time for a Q&A at the end of today's session. So if you do have a question for our speakers, feel free to drop that into the Q&A chat you should see on your screen. All right, so let's just get this conversation started by fulfilling a promise that we made in the description for this event. So, Jared, tell us the story behind how AdParlor was able to get a Fortune 500 brand's TV budget.
Yeah. So we have a long tenured relationship with this client, and historically was driving performance via paid social and programmatic. I received a call, like all great agencies, at 5 p.m. on a Friday, asking to jump on a for a high priority project. That would be establishing a rebrand launch specific to CTV, and to go and market alongside their paid social, their SMS, their email, and their search campaigns. And so, yeah, the call ended, funny enough, with our contact saying the CMO and VP wanted to make a big splash. And so that's kind of how we landed that. Initially, it was based on us having a long tenured relationship with this client, them understanding that we were a great partner and someone that could be flexible for them, and drive performance on other marketing channels.
All right, so just to touch on something that I'm sure you experience, and definitely something that I'm sure a lot of agencies experience, but can you talk about some of the challenges that you ran into landing that budget?
Yeah, so I think the biggest challenge in terms of landing the budget was the speed that we had to go against in terms of getting live. So we actually had to be prepared to launch this campaign within like 3 days. And so being able to get briefed in, get introduced to the platform, get introduced to our Mountain support team, alongside working with the marketing team over on the brand side of things, to ensure that we had everything set up and ready to go. In terms of, in terms of us being able to jump right in and get access to the business itself, or to the Mountain platform, uh, we were able to essentially do this in kind of record time. Uh, we've been in situations in the past where, curveballs are kind of thrown at us, as an agency, where we need to be prepared for pivots, and And ultimately, this was just one of those pivots. We kind of took it as a challenge, a fun challenge, and one that our team and myself was ready, to tackle.
All right, so just to sort of build on that and kind of going more into the solution, what solution did you offer that helped land that deal? And sort of as a follow-up, how did Mountain help provide that solution?
Sure. So in terms of our solution in general, we tend to be a partner. When I say partner, pretty much hand in hand with our marketing teams on the brand side that we work with. And so, um, in terms of us servicing, this client, it was coming up with this strategy. It was ultimately making sure that we had the right audience segmentation in place, had alignment on the KPIs, understood the creative timelines in terms of when they were going to be coming in, what creative we were looking to launch. Like I said earlier, like all this happened very, very fast, and so it did require us to kind of have all hands on deck and ultimately put together a strategy that was going to ultimately drive performance with this client in kind of record time. They were looking for a partner that was flexible to do that. We had the prior experience, on our resume, to be able to help them out, and we were, able to do that in record time. And so, specifically, I would say us getting ourselves into Mountain was actually extremely intuitive. We were able to really get in, understand the platform, understand all the capabilities, kind of in record time. The support team that we worked with on the mountainside was amazing. In terms of being able to guide us, provide consultative recommendations on how we should, look to set up the campaigns, and ultimately work with us as we executed, launched, and ultimately optimized to drive incremental revenue for this client.
Okay, so you landed the budget and were able to provide, an effective solution with Mountain. But Jared, are there any results that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of us being able to find new customers for this client, that and reach a very, very high population of the United States. I believe we hit around 28 million households, which drove over 5 million verified visits, which, verified visits was a new concept and a new term that was new to our team, and something that, the Mountain team was able to help guide us through and guide us through the importance of how this plays, into a full funnel strategy. So the 5 million verified visits, but then ultimately drive incremental revenue for the client. And I believe we came in at about over $8 million in incremental revenue. So yeah, overall, the results were great. The products that we were able to leverage within Mountain, one of them being the API reporting suite that you guys offer, to help provide us insights into the performance of the campaigns, but also be able to deliver those results within our internal agency cross-channel dashboards that we supplied over to the client, and helped in us pulling specific results for their own MMM reporting that, they leverage on their side to kind of measure the overall impact of CTV, within their wider marketing capabilities, their marketing campaigns that they were running.
I just want to say congratulations again. I mean, that's an amazing story and really an amazing win. But now I want to switch gears just a bit. So that's the story about how you landed this budget. But Lauren, I want to ask you, what has it been like adding CTV into existing client plans?
Yeah, so to start, let me just give a little bit about who AdParlor is. So AdParlor, we're a rapidly growing performance media and creator marketing agency. We're really truly specialized in the full funnel. So when we think about the deep expertise that we have within paid media, and then kind of this unique performance focused influencer marketing approach that we take, CTV and adding that into the mix has been really valuable to our client strategies. It fits nicely into a full funnel marketing strategy. by really effectively driving awareness at the top of the funnel, due to its broad reach and large screen presence, I guess, while also leveraging advanced technology capabilities to engage audiences with personalized messaging much further down the funnel. So we're able to capture that full funnel that AdParlor, has specialized in for so long. And we've seen huge advantages to adding CTV.
So I know that you've worked with, different sizes of companies before, but since we're talking about, a Fortune 500 client, Lauren, what would you say makes servicing a company like a Fortune 500 different from, say, a D2C e-commerce brand?
So, okay, we have experience servicing both, right? So Fortune 500, a lot of experience there, but also mid-market, smaller D2C e-commerce companies. So they, one's not better than the other. We love working with everyone, but they are very different. And I would say the main difference, and Jared, I think you would probably agree, is just about the structure of the teams that we work with at the brand. That just, there are a lot of differences that come with the way that we work together. So just for an example, when we're thinking about a Fortune 500 company, they will typically have multiple layers that we need to navigate through. There's a planning team, there are analysts, there are coordinators who are often managing within silos different pieces of the business and different pieces of the marketing budget. There tend to be more layers of review and approval that's required before we're able to move forward with some of the strategic decisions that need to be made. I would say in our experience, there tends to be a bit more red tape when we're working with a Fortune 500, and that is not meant to be a bad thing, because with that, can lead to very buttoned up processes in the ways that we work together. So then if we move to a different end of the spectrum and thinking about maybe a smaller D2C e-commerce company, it generally just looks different in terms of who we're working with on a daily basis. Yeah. So we tend to work directly with the CMO or with a senior director who is going to be much more in the day-to-day, a little bit deeper in the day-to-day than maybe the CMO at a Fortune 500. But that CMO, that senior director, is also the ultimate decision maker. So we're able to work with that decision maker on a more daily basis. And they just tend to have a little bit more of the background information that goes into the decisions that they need to make. D2C companies, or the D2C teams that we have worked with, they tend to be a bit more focused on lower funnel objectives. So there may be a need for some full funnel education there to help, push them into the full funnel outside of just focusing on, maybe sales objectives, for example. And then data, I would say, obviously it plays a huge role in performance media, obviously. And we see that D2C companies, I don't know, they tend to geek out a little bit on the numbers with our teams a bit more.
Yeah, they're a little bit more scrappy.
Yes. Yeah, which the team loves. But I mean, I would say bottom line here is it's important to understand just expectations and ways of working, regardless of the type or the size of the client that you're working with. And I mean, we really have a solid playbook for how we make clients of any size successful.
Yeah, and I'll just add something there in terms of just, you know, the ingredients or the baseline for, any company that we work with is truly understanding, who their customer is, who they want to be targeting, what their KPI is, and getting alignment on that. If you have that foundation down, the performance side of things in terms of being able to put together a strategy to meet those needs is much easier than trying to figure that out on the fly, right? And so, regardless if it's a Fortune 500 company or a small mom and pop down the street, having that alignment on that KPI, trying to understand, who their customer is, and how they want to message them, is extremely important in terms of, being able to perform and meet expectations, not and exceed those expectations
Yeah.
ultimately.
So, Lauren, you talked a little bit about what it's been like adding CTV into your existing client plans, but how does CTV help AdParlor attract new clients?
Yeah. So, first of all, over 3/4 of US households own a connected TV device today, right? And probably, I mean, a lot of us probably have more than one connected TV device. And so, with reach like that, marketers are certainly getting acquainted with the idea that TV is a performance channel. And frankly, if they don't, they're going to be left behind. So it's, connected TV, it's a conversation that we should all be having, and that we're certainly having with new clients, as well as existing clients. So AdParlor, I mean, we really understand the performance component of CTV advertising, and we're able to showcase our expertise through proven results, which is obviously very attractive. That is, I would say, especially to TV marketers who are embracing a cross-platform approach, understanding that moving to connected TV for the performance aspect is only going to benefit them and the bottom line that comes out of their marketing budget. So for us, I mean, CTV, it's just yet another performance focused tool in our tool belt that we've really been excited to introduce to the conversations that we're having with new and existing clients alike.
Yeah, so Lauren, has your experience with that Fortune 500 company, or really even just your experience with performance and full funnel solutions like CTV, has that made it easier for AdParlor to sell CTV to your existing clients?
So, short answer, yes, absolutely. I mean, case studies are king, right? Everybody, I feel like that's one of the first questions that we get from people is, okay, but do you have a case study? Can you send us a case study? And so, absolutely, that's really helpful. With our existing clients, so we're already proficient in understanding their business, right? And I would say maybe even more importantly, in understanding how to run performance media. And so the case study, in the case that the one that Jared mentioned, and the a handful of others that we have, it being able to leverage the performance insights within these CTV advertising examples allows us to tell our story, to existing clients in a way that they both understand and that they trust, right? So they recognize the approach that they see here. They recognize the results, and because it's the way that they work with us today through other channels.
All right, so I want to switch gears again. So we've briefly touched on strategy so far, but I kind of want to get into the weeds just a bit. So, Jared, how does AdParlor balance developing a creative strategy alongside a media strategy?
Yeah, so I would say it really is a balance between the both. Obviously, when a lot of clients that we talk to, when they think about creative, they think, that CTV in general needs to be this buttoned up Super Bowl commercial that is going to change the world. It doesn't necessarily have to be that, especially when you're tying performance to it, right? So, uh, in terms of it being a perfect balance between, the creative side, we need to think through, what is that core message that we want to get out, to that customer? What is the CTA that we're going to be able to call out to have them drive action? And then ultimately, are we able to put any type of overlay with a QR code in there, or be able to have some type of engagement buy now type of CTA? And I'm sure we're going to talk about this in a little bit, but like, I noticed that over the holidays, a number of e-commerce brands and D2C and also retailers were really focusing hard on that, right? So
Mhm.
having that shop now experience, some of it being shoppable, depending on the medium um, that OTT type of advertisement was coming through, right? So um, that is a piece that ties into the performance strategy. But the other piece on the performance strategy side, and what I really enjoy about Mountain is the focus on the business outcome and making that actually the lead indicator in terms of performance, understanding that like we don't have all the answers. There's no crystal ball that says that one ad's going to, perform better than the other. So how can we leverage multiple creatives, multiple targeting approaches, test them out in a way that allows us to understand a bit more about what is driving performance, ultimately make those optimizations to scale that out, and being able to measure it on the back end to say, okay, this specific ad targeted to this specific group drove this specific action. And I think that is kind of the magic that, when, this opportunity came, to talk to you, Jacob, like I wanted to kind of express because I do love the platform. I love, the enhancements that you guys are making. And ultimately, CTV in general, there's different ways to look at it. There's different ways to approach it. Mountain is one of them. You guys are really good on the performance side. There could be some other platforms if you go, directly with a Netflix that, you're getting maybe a more of a brand aspect to it. But, from a performance side and really what a lot of our clients are looking for, being able to optimize for that business outcome is something that, has been great, working alongside, your team.
Well, on behalf of the rest of Mountain, first, thank you. But second, now, creative and media strategy with CTV, it's going to be different than, say, the traditional linear model of television, because, as you mentioned, Lauren, like CTV can really be used as this full funnel performance tool, similar to what, a brand or a marketer might expect from a paid search or a paid social. But Lauren, and I feel like we started to touch on this, were AdParlor's clients like really, really aware that CTV can be used as this full funnel solution?
So I would say in this case that we've been talking about with the case study, yes, Mountain Performance TV is actually what attracted them to CTV in the first place as a very performance focused brand. They knew enough about themselves as a brand to know that it had to be performance focused if they were going to test it. And so absolutely, performance TV was what really hooked to them for CTV. And then, as Jared mentioned, our long-standing history as a digital performance agency for them is really what led them to come to us to help them out with the strategy there. I will say though, not all clients are in that spot. Not all clients have come to terms with understanding that CTV is a performance tool.
Okay, so and I feel like you maybe briefly mentioned this in an earlier response, but for those who maybe aren't quite as familiar with like the performance capabilities of CTV, was there any kind of education, or maybe the better question is, what kind of education
Mhm.
was necessary to really make those capabilities of CTV clearer to clients that might needed a little bit more clarity?
Yeah. So, I mean, honestly, there's nothing groundbreaking here. Ensuring that the client has a basic understanding of performance media is really what's important. So, Jared mentioned this, but defining the business goals and the KPIs, ensuring that the brand knows who their customer is and what connection they want the customer to have to their brand. That's what has to happen first and foremost. Then, once they know who their customer is and they can effectively translate that to a partner like us, then we can formulate the creative and the targeting strategies to meet their KPIs and then educate them on how CTV meets their business goals and fits into the media mix. And I mean, there are a couple of things I think that we touch on with our clients that aren't necessarily unique to CTV, but we make sure that we hit on the fact that each of these areas kind of proves out that CTV is a performance channel. So, the first thing is that CTV is targeted advertising, where some marketers think about TV as just not being targeted. And so, really educating and walking through how CTV is very targeted advertising. There's high viewability. These are unskippable ads. They can be seen in full screen mode, which is really great for the consumer. Brand safety is incredibly important, whether you're a Fortune 500 or, you know, a small D2C or mom and pop shop. Brand safety is always going to be important, and there are some really great controls within CTV advertising for that. It's very cost effective, especially I would say if you compare it to traditional TV advertising, and you can measure it, which is the most important. And so just really walking through the measurable results that you get from connected TV advertising and in almost reteaching or having people forget about what they know about TV advertising and reteaching just the measurable piece for CTV.
And I'll add something there too. In terms of the performance focus of it, optimizing regardless of the platform, you're a lot of times you're using the same inputs in terms of, the KPIs that you're looking at. And so as long as the platform that you are using to garner results from is able to supply those results to then make data informed decisions, it makes it so much easier for anybody to jump in and be able to leverage insights from other platforms and bring that over to a mountain or similar type platform. And so that's what I think when we go back to the case study, what made it so successful was our ability to take those learnings from over the years of running performance marketing and leveraging that within the campaign that we were running. And so the targeting, being able to go after third-party audiences, which we were already doing, being able to exclude current customer bases, which was a best practice that we were already doing on other channels, really set that foundation that we needed in order to get those results and optimize those results for ultimately higher performance over time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like almost the moral of the story here is like if you have a performance marketing background or if you're accustomed to performance marketing and know how it works, those skills are transferable over
Yep.
into that CTV space. And
100%.
so if you're new to CTV, you might not be as new as you think you are.
Right.
All right, now I want to wrap up this conversation, or at least start wrapping up this conversation with something I think we all do at the end of every year, which is reflections on the past 12 months and sort of aspirations for the next 12. So let's look at the past first. Jared, what did AdParlor learn about CTV and performance marketing in 2024?
Yeah, I think there's two pieces to this. The first is, you know, the uh, the understanding that the space in general, so like fast in general has been around for a bit of time in terms of ad-supported TV. But on top of that, what we're finding is ad-supported subscriptions. So, the introduction the, of Netflix in terms of having ads, there on a lower tier, or Disney Plus with ads is increasing substantially. I think as more streaming services that
Mhm.
uh, have historically come about, and as there's more that become available, uh, the increase that has on a consumer's wallet has also increased, which means that they're always looking for ways to save money. That's where I think the ad tiered approach in terms of the Netflixes of the world, the Peacocks of the world, are going to succeed. And ultimately, what that means is that consumers are getting used to seeing advertisements within the CTV space. Before it was kind of that HBO experience where, yeah, you never want to see an ad, you want kind of ad-free TV, you pay for that. Now I think it's kind of the norm. And with that, it makes our lives as marketers a lot easier in terms of if those targeting capabilities are there to be able to find those consumers, be able to show them a relevant, creative that is going to resonate with them, and ultimately, they're hopefully going to be able to take an action on. So that's the first piece. The second piece is performance marketing in general. I think with CTV, that is new. That at least on from our perspective, that's been something that's been difficult in the past, like going, within a DSP and trying to get a direct deal. A lot of times, you're just paying for that premium content. You're not necessarily paying for performance
Mhm.
optimization at the end of the day. Mountain kind of flipped that for us, and I think that was a learning where uh, a quote I kind of came up with was that Mountain allows for the content to find you, not you find the content, right? And so It's really behavior audience first, marketing, which as a performance marketer is exactly what we're looking for, and something that that excites me about the space and excites me about launching more campaigns with y'all.
We might have to steal that tagline because it is amazing. All right, so now I want to take a second and let's look into the future. So, Lauren, what are you looking forward to, or really what excites you the most in 2025 for AdParlor, your clients, or even just the ad business overall?
Yeah. So I mean, first of all, the fact that we're talking about 2025 is crazy, but it is here, ready or not. I think expectations for 2025 are really exciting. You know, at AdParlor, we've been taking note of the trends for 2025. We're leaning into our unique position at the intersection of influencer marketing and media buying. And so in thinking about that, I've got a couple trends. I don't know, Jared will probably have maybe a couple to add, but the first really is about, thinking about authenticity in advertising. So consumers are increasingly putting authenticity at the top of their list of things that matter to them when they're considering a new brand to work with, when they're looking at a new product. And I think there are a number of ways that you can really focus on authenticity as an advertiser. And so the first is leaning into influencer marketing, to really drive the connection between the consumer and the brand in an authentic way. The second is probably, and I don't know, this is a bold statement when I say, but ditching the flashy campaigns to really showcase real, genuine user experiences. That can be using a short form video to create, really engaging, bite-sized video content. I think that's a great way to do it. Thinking about CTV, UGC mashups are really effective and ideal in telling, in just storytelling across different audience segments. So there's definitely um, just thinking about how to be authentic in advertising, I think is going to be huge in 2025.
Yeah, and the other thing too, when we think about like the UGC mashups and seeing the success of that is just the cost effectiveness. Like being
Absolutely.
able to leverage
Yeah.
and having a client being able to leverage content that's cross-channel. There's so many tools right now that are available, to edit and cut down content to make it fit for different mediums, and I think CTV is one of them.
Hmm.
We're probably going to see there's some ads that aren't going to be on CTV that, some of our clients want to leverage on other channels too. And so I do think like the ability to cross-reference and look at finding efficiencies from a creative standpoint is going to be something that we're to continue to see. And AI for sure is going to
Yeah.
be something that kind of leads that.
Absolutely. And that leads right into my kind of the next trend is AI enabled marketing. So it's certainly not anything that's new, but it is increasingly becoming a core component of digital marketing and of what we do. I mean, if you think about creative efficiency, targeting, budgeting, just personalization in general, I think Mountain Matched is a really great example of that. But so at AdParlor, we absolutely recognize the need to focus on efficiency and scale. I mean, we do this every day in all of the client work that that we're doing. I do want to say though that we're also very dedicated to making an investment in just humanity and creativity, which can often be difficult to achieve with AI alone. And so,
Yep.
we're very focused on ensuring that we have a balance between automation and human touch. And I hope that everybody does because we're seeing a lot of AI out there that, can border on a little bit terrifying. And so just making sure that we keep the human touch, I think is going to be important.
Yeah, something else too, I think is engagement. In leveraging that engagement within the creative itself. And so, we talked a little bit about the ability to buy directly from ads, and I think you are going to see more of that seamless shopping transactional type of approach within the creative itself.
Hmm.
This year we've seen, TikTok obviously is owning that today, and I do believe, the Amazons of the world, as we saw, watching CTV creative over the holidays in terms of that being something that was being leveraged on multiple creatives within the Kohl's of the worlds and the Dick's Sporting Goods, where they were actively, having a QR code to go to a product page directly from, the CTV ad. I think it's something that is going to stay,
Yep.
and it's going to be kind of the norm, in 2025.
Yeah, I think I mean, within interactive and shoppable content, it's really about creative that's not only attention grabbing, but attention keeping, like is going to be really important to ensuring those that we're creating deeper connections that we are, that ultimately are going to lead to sales
Yep.
and boosting sales. But where we're seeing the shoppable ads and we're seeing those QR codes that are integrated into the creative, I mean, brands are they're driving directly to purchase points within the creative that, we're seeing on CTV and we're seeing on other platforms.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that attention keeping thing is such an important thing. We've been so, so focused on attention grabbing that I feel like with attention keeping, that's where CTV can really shine too. It's a longer ad format as well, and it's on
Right.
that big screen look that, you want to watch to the end to get to that QR code, to get to that, shop now or discount code that you might see. But thank you so much, Lauren and Jared, for this really, really
Yeah.
insightful discussion about connected TV and performance marketing. You really shared some stellar insights that I hope have given some folks at home some food for thought on how they can, level up their own strategies with CTV. Now, speaking about food for thought, it looks like we do have some questions from the audience. So let's just jump right in. Lauren, I'm actually going to direct this first one to you.
Okay.
What would be the first thing you would tell an agency to do who is looking to add CTV to their offerings? Where should they start?
Okay. So I would say first think about the type of agency that you want to be. Do you want to offer true full funnel marketing strategies to your clients? Do you already have a team of great performance media buyers on staff? Do you have a roster of clients who are who want to scale their business and who trust you to help drive that growth? And really, if you answer yes to those questions, then you should absolutely, I mean, CTV should be part of the strategies that you're presenting to your clients. Then I would say to get started, I mean, we touched on this a little bit before. If you haven't done CTV advertising before, you're not necessarily behind, right? Because the core fundamentals are very consistent with just performance marketing in general, but you are going to have to put in some work, right? You need to research the industry. You need to understand who are the industry players. What are the targeting capabilities that are out there, the inventory options, the ad formats. Those are all going to be different enough that you need to do your research. There's some great blogs. I honestly, I love the Mountain blog. There's Adweek, there's eMarketer, tons of resources that are available to get that research done. But also, and Jared touched on this earlier, you need to understand how you can incorporate learnings from your existing client relationships and the existing work that you're doing with clients and transfer that knowledge over to this new channel. We see huge benefit here. We find that extremely valuable. And I would encourage as you're thinking about introducing a new channel, really any new channel, but CTV certainly, think about that knowledge transfer that you can do. I think at the end of the day, all of us as agencies, we just have to be a great partner to the clients that we work with. We have to help them to push the limits and grow, take them to the next level, and expansion to CTV could be a really great way for an agency to do that.
So, Jared, here's a creative question for you. What is one creative tip that has been working well for you this year?
One creative tip. There's a lot of creative tips, right?
Just one.
Yeah, just one.
You don't have to limit yourself to one. Feel free
No,
to
I
give
know, I
more.
know. I'm trying to answer the question, Jacob.
More
Joke.
directly, I suppose.
Yes. So I think going back to the performance side of things in terms of having multiple creative to test out is a recommendation that I have and that I've seen work well. It's if you're going to put all your eggs in one basket and hope that that you're going to be able to perform, you might be disappointed at the end of the day. And so how can you set yourself up for success by having multiple creative in there? And that could be 15, 30 seconds. That could be having a different CTA in there to see what CTA is actually driving that action. That could be having a QR code in there, not having a QR code. If you don't go into it with a test and learn mindset and wanting to be able to get data back to be able to improve, it's going to be very difficult to do that. And so that would probably be my biggest
Mm.
recommendation from a creative side of things is looking at multiple creative, diversifying your creative.
Oh yeah, multiple variations is definitely one of our favorite creative tips too. All right, so here's another question. Actually, I think Jared, this is another one that's good for you. How has CTV changed how you put together a performance strategy for your clients?
Sure. So I do think that being able to leverage creative from existing campaigns has been one area that's helped in terms of us
Mhm.
being able to leverage it within our CTV campaigns. What I'm actually finding is that the barrier to entry in terms of getting on CTV has become lowered, right? There are multiple platforms out there. There are multiple ways to go about it. And so being able to truly pick a platform, pick a solution that is going to drive that KPI that is most important to your client is going to allow, for you to get the most performance out of the medium itself. Um, an interesting, tidbit that I came across recently was, because of kind of the blurred line between, fast and then also with ad-supported CTV channels and streaming services, the expectation is that there's going to be, at least what they're estimating, about 20,000 new advertisers this upcoming year that have never been on CTV in the past. And so with that, there's going to be a ton of opportunity, I think, to test to see what works. We're saying right now that having QR codes and having a CTA that is a shoppable now is the way to go. As we get more data points, as we get more advertisers testing it, there are going to be new learnings. There are going to be things that are going to require us as marketers to pivot. And so, I'm excited about it. Excited about the opportunity that kind of lays ahead. Uh, and excited to see what 2025 happens within the space.
Oh yeah, and I think that's what's really cool about CTV right now is it's almost like this creative sandbox where we're sort of testing and learning and understanding so that we can, make better campaigns in the future. And it's a cyclical cycle. It'll continue to go on, which is one of the great, performance capabilities of connected TV is that you're really able to do that and gather these learnings to make your next campaigns even better.
Yeah.
Um, all right. Well, we have time for one last question, and Lauren, I'm going to direct this one to you. What is something that you wish you knew before, during, or even after you started working with connected TV campaigns?
Oh, that's a good one. This is a good one to end on, kind of wrap things up. Okay, so I would say before, and gosh, we're repeating this over and over, so it must be really important, right? Is that set clear objectives, well-defined goals for what you want for your CTV campaigns. That seems simple, but it's kind of wild how often that step gets missed,
Mhm.
or it's kind of those are developed on the fly. So really, um, thinking through that and setting some well-defined objectives beforehand is important. Then, you've got to choose the right platform. You need to think through where your audience consumes their content, what devices they're on. Consider the metrics that you want to optimize against so that you can really narrow it down and just choose the platform that's going to best serve you and your goals. I would say during, ensure that your strategy includes frequent or regular performance reviews. and that you have a testing mindset in place that really allows you to stay flexible over the course of your campaigns and within your approach. Keeping in mind that this landscape, it is always evolving and it's evolving quickly, and you have to stay at pace with that is going to be really important. Then after, um, I guess, why is there an after? Let's keep this thing going. Like, let's just keep the CTV rolling. I would say, hopefully there's not an end, but one thing that we could do as campaigns, come to a conclusion and new ones start is just always be learning. Take insights from current and past campaigns and apply them to your future strategies, just to ensure that your campaigns are, that they remain innovative, they remain effective, and that you are always evolving what you're doing.
Yeah, it's almost we use a slogan around here where we consider Q1 to be Q5, where it's this idea that you're just
Right.
constantly taking those learnings into the new year. It's not a reset, it's not a start over. It's just, constantly building on all of those successes that you've experienced before and continuing that.
Yeah, I like
All
that.
right. Well, thank you so much again, Lauren and Jared, and thank you all for joining us for Mountain Forums this year. Now, if you were so glued to your screen that you didn't take as many notes as you would have liked, don't worry, you'll receive a post-show email with a recording of this session in the near future. Well, that's it for Mountain Forums this year. But if you'd like to catch up on all the webinars and events that we held in 2024, visit mountain.com/webinars to watch all of our past presentations. Thank you so much again for joining us this year, and we'll see you in 2025.